Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at some of the extras available for Zombicide, Undead, or Alive that we recently covered on the channel. Check out that review of the core box if you haven't seen that yet. But today, basically, again, I'm covering some of these extras that you can get for the game. We've got expansions, we've got like this Running Wild, we've got small add-ons like the Long Dead Walkers, we've got the large catch-all extra box with the stretch goals that is called Dead West. We've even got a single character over here that was a little add-on, Sister Temperance, that I threw out here. The main thing I will not be talking about is the campaign expansion, Gears and Guns. This one is one in which you need to go through the story. It'll be several sort of strung together chapters. And, well, it takes a lot more time for me to explore all of this and give you some thoughts. That's A. But B, we've also got already this covered by Brian Drake on the channel. So make sure you check that out. That'll be Gears and Guns, and he's done a review of this already. So this one and the steampunk extras, which fold right into this, I'm not really going to be covering those. Instead, I'll be focusing on this, talk about a few highlights from them all, what they add in, and just a general what I thought of it. So I'm kind of grouping all these things together into one review. I doubt I'll give anything a numerical score, but I'll tell you what I think of it and which ones I'm likely to throw in all the time, which ones might be an every now and then type expansion, and which ones probably won't make it in too much, all right? So let's go ahead and kick it off. We're starting with the Dead West expansion, or really sort of stretch goal box. This was the catch-all box for all of these stretch goals unlocked in the campaign, the Kickstarter campaign. So the main thing here is new abominations and new characters you can play with. The characters, I'm not going to go over all of those. I will say that it's very nice having some extra faithful characters. So you'll get a few more. This is by far the rarest character type, the faithful character type. So it's nice having a few more of these to mix it up. You've got Father Luke over here. He gets some really, really powerful stuff. Having an extra Vade Retro every round is insane. It's incredibly powerful. That ability is already incredibly powerful. And so having extra goes at that is amazing. And just, again, gives you a little bit more variety, a little more, the ability to put together a team with a little more oomph if you have more of these types of characters available to you. So that's good. The main thing I'm focusing on here, though, is the new abominations. And the way the game handles abominations is very clever, and this is very easy to fold into the basic game. So the way it works is you have all these new abominations. They explain them all. There's quite a few of them. And every time from the spawn deck you flip over an abomination card, you then go to the abomination deck, flip one over from there, and that's the thing that spawns. In the original game, the core box, you've got this. That's the single card in the entire deck. So you don't really have a deck. You have a single card. This guy shows up whenever you spawn an abomination. Well, the fun thing is now from all of these, I can pick and choose which ones I shuffle in here. And then every time I have to spawn an abomination, I can just, boom, flip over one of these. It's that disgusting thing. This guy right here. And the next one, bam, it's the one from the base game. No special rule. And the next one's the Wendigo. And so it's going to give you a lot more variety, but also you can customize which ones show up so easily. Like, for example, this Trickster, the Great Trickster here, is a miniature where you can change the head of that mini. It's this one right here. Let me grab it. This one right here. And you can change the head on this miniature by putting in a new one on the miniature. Let me do this here. Boom. Like that. So you can do that, and it can be that Trickster, or you can pull this off and put a different one on, and now it's this Trickster. There you go. So it changes, and the rules are, kind of represent all of this. This is not one I throw in. I don't play with it. I don't like that it has that many rules. I like the simpler ones. So it's very easy for me not to do that. I can just leave it out. But if I want to throw in some of the other ones, very easy. I can throw that in. I can putting these guys in there. It's a little simpler. Bam, it makes a deck. Oh, I don't want this one to show up. It really wrecked me last game, or I didn't enjoy the gameplay it brought to the table. That card is out. So really nice way to handle that. Now the last thing here is these daily duel house rules, in which some of the walkers have special rules, and it changes the game. I just don't mess with this. The game already has enough rules, has enough variety with these new abominations and other things I'll be showing you, where I don't really mess with giving, say, oh, the teacher miniature has special rules in this game. I don't really do it. This is a little too much for me to give just a specific type of miniature a rule, so I don't worry about it. But it's there if you wanted to mess with that and give, you know, the different characters a little something extra. Speaking of abominations, this next one, Dead Stock here, is an expansion that gives you just a few extra abominations. And again, you can shuffle them in however you want to. So you're going to get the Blood Bull here, the Bison, the Texas Death Horn, and then the Bear, the Abomina Bear. With their own rules, their own ways to activate. And again, you can just take the little card and shuffle them in. You want the Texas Death Horn, shuffle that card into this deck, you're good to go. The minis in this one are pretty sweet. I've got a couple of them here. So this is the Bear. Very cool, nice texture all over him with the fur. And then a few, you know, nasty spots where he's clearly infected there. Some gashes and scratches on him. So very, very cool. And then this one looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle a little bit. This one is the Bison. It's this guy right here. And you can see that he's got like a carapace type thing, spikes coming out of him, this real gnarly arm over here. And yeah, he just looks pretty tough. So I like that one there. And these are pretty nice size also, so I'll show you in comparison to one of the normal miniatures. This is what a normal mini then would look like. And this is this gigantic bear standing next to him. So pretty impressive stuff. So there you go. Yeah, this one's an easy inclusion for me. I really like the miniatures in it. I think there's one that I don't really shuffle in, but most of them are in. So that's pretty good. This is a box that just gives you a few more abominations. So if you have the Dead West box, this feels like just a little drop on top of already a bucket full of goodies. But I do like the characters. I think they add some nice theme and flavor to the proceedings, so this is one I would certainly recommend. Dead Stock here is fun thematically, and the characters are neat. Now this next one is probably my favorite expansion, and this is the one I would recommend if you want to throw a little something in the game, you're not sure where to begin, you don't want to necessarily hunt down the giant box if you didn't kickstart it, then I would say this is going to add a nice amount of variability and interest to your game. The Long Dead Walkers here are a new walker type with a special rule, and that is they're just bones. They've been long dead. They've risen from the grave, but there's very little flesh left on these bones, and so you cannot just shoot these things away. You got to get in up close. And so that's the rule with these characters. It's just the one side here, and they have their own colorization also, so you're not going to confuse these characters with the regular walkers. And as you can see, they really are just bones. It's really interesting miniatures here, like this one here. You can see right through him. You can see his rib cage and the spine there. It's incredible stuff. And so when these come up, and they'll have their own spawn cards that you'll shuffle into the deck, and every time you hit one of these, you just put them out instead. You're going to have to, again, get up close and personal with these characters. You cannot just hop up on a balcony and take them out from afar. Really interesting. Changes up the way you play. Changes up how the characters are going to tackle sort of lane control and dealing with what's approaching. Throw this in. It changes up the game in a nice way without adding pretty much any complexity. You just need to remember, hey, you got to get up close. And I really, really love the fact that they gave these a different color. That bone white makes them stand out, makes it very easy, if you don't paint your miniatures, that is, to tell what's on the board at any given time. So Long Dead Walkers, big thumbs up from me. Next up, we've got the Running Wild expansion, and this one's a little bit weirder for me. This is definitely not one I'm going to throw in a lot of the time, okay? Whereas the Long Dead Walkers, they're in my deck, they're always in the game. The Running Wild expansion here gives you mounted characters, good guys, who you can choose to play as. They will have a figure with a horse, but you can jump off that horse and go into a building, leaving the horse outside. You can do, while you're rider, you can basically become standard. You leave the horse outside, but that horse can attract attention from zombies. So that's the main idea there. There's a decent amount of rules for what amounts to a little switch. So again, this is not my favorite expansion. It's a nice flavor change though. And the minis included in here are pretty sweet. So the boards, or rather the player cards, are going to look something like this. So same thing, it's still just a character, but then the opening ability there will be rider and some ability. So Amelia here, for example, will have a mounted figure on the horse, and when you hop off of that, she also has another miniature, which is just that character standing on her own, and then you leave a horse token where you dismount it. And again, this horse can attract zombie attention. There was a horse expansion, like a little extra, that gave you just the plastic horses, which is not necessary, but it's a nice touch so you don't have to put these cardboard tokens out. I can just put out the horsey on the table wherever Amelia hopped off of the horse. And so you've got her with a +1 max range there while she's riding. You've got Mitchell here, +1 free pistol action, +1 die to roll melee, swinging while on the horse. Same thing here, +1 free, well, not quite the same, +1 free melee action as opposed to a revolver action. So these characters are going to have an extra something they do while you're on the horse, but you can't go inside, you gotta get off the horse, okay? There's also then a little extra character that folds into this, which is Sister Temperance. This came on its own, and it came with Sister Temperance, who again is a mounted character here, a rider, and a faithful character. Very nice. This is certainly one that I'll consider putting in because it's a faithful character with an extra ability. And you get her, and this is her on her, well, it's not quite a horse, it's a donkey, which I love. She's on a donkey. And so there you go. And again, when she hops off, unfortunately, we do not have a donkey. If she's off of it, it's suddenly a horse. And that's all right. It's Zombicide. So there you go, that's that one. Again, I like this expansion fine, but it is not one that I'll always feel like explaining. So oftentimes if I'm playing the game, I'm not necessarily letting the other players at the table have a go at these. If everybody's experienced and you want to try a little something different, then perhaps I'll throw this in. Final thing over here is a new abomination, which is a zombified horse. It's pretty good. The rules are very simple. It's pretty punishing, though. Every zombie that would deal 1 wound deals 2 wounds instead. So while I like it, and I very much like the figure for it, here's the figure here. Very neat, very spooky there. You can see pieces missing and everything. This is one that I don't always throw in because it's very, very difficult. If I'm not doing so well, suddenly every guy who deals 1 wound dealing 2 wounds, that takes a lot of characters out. But I do like it, and I think thematically it goes well with this mounted here expansion, the Running Wild expansion. So this is good, but again, I would certainly recommend this after many of the other things I'm showing you here today. And the final thing I'll be covering then in this video is this expansion. It was a little sort of goofy, tongue-in-cheek one that gave you 2 abominations. It gave you the Abominape, and it gave you the Crocosaur. This was clearly a wink to like King Kong versus Godzilla, which was happening around this time. And this one's pretty goofy, to be fair, and I don't think worth the price to hunt down unless you are a giant fan of what these 2 creatures are going to bring. There are already so many abominations that you are getting in the big box in Dead West. There's the Death Stock abominations that I would certainly recommend over these. You're getting the Nightmare one from Running Wild. So these are, again, a little bit goofier. They're insane miniatures, and in fact, we'll take a look at them now. But it's not something I've find myself throwing into the game, okay? So the Abominape is this monstrosity, again, clearly supposed to be King Kong. His rules are a little more in-depth than I'd like. He has this ability where if he activates, he'll snatch somebody up. You know, the whole King Kong stealing someone and climbing a building kind of thing. So that's what's going on with him. He's got quite a few rules. This is not one that I'm less likely to use him than I am to use the Croc. So that's his deal. And then the Crocodile also looks incredibly impressive here. He's standing up on his legs. He's got one arm that's actually off the ground. It'd be hard for you to see that from this angle, but he's got this arm here just lifted off the ground. Incredibly cool looking. And then his ability is just, well, nasty, because every time you would kill him, you roll a die, and on a 4 or better, he just survives. No. You know, that's pretty bad. But I might throw him in. The rules are not too difficult, and it's an incredibly cool miniature that looks very different from every other Abomination, too. So this one, throw in the bear to substitute for this guy. I've got enough of a zoo going on in that case. So again, this is probably the last thing I would recommend. This is more of a completionist type thing if you want to throw in the Abominape versus the Crocosaur. Or if you absolutely love King Kong versus Godzilla, I guess. So there you go. That is most everything. I hope that gives you an idea of just about everything you're going to be able to find for Undead or Alive Zombicide there. There's a couple of things I did not cover, but that's the bulk of it. Again, the idea being that you can see what comes in each, sort of my thoughts on each piece, and what I'm likely to mix in, not mix in, what's an every game type of expansion, and what's just a sometimes extra flavor that I want to throw in. Thanks very much for checking this out. Again, don't forget to check out the main review for Zombicide Undead or Alive right here on the channel. And if you want to see Brian Drake talk about gears and guns, you can check that out as well. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. My name is Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.